Sunday school on April the 27th. We've got 5 or 6 of us here. Missing all our Lacey prom goers. I hope they see that. But anyway, we understand sometimes you need some sleep. So we'll get going and we'll head to worship. Philippians 3, verse 7. But whatever gain I had, I counted as loss for the sake of Christ. Indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For his sake, I have suffered the loss of all things and count them as rubbish, in order that I may gain Christ and be found in him, not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, but that which comes through faith in Christ, righteousness from God that depends on faith, that I may know him in the power of his resurrection and may share his sufferings, becoming like him in his death, I may attain the resurrection from the dead. All right, so what I want us to do, starting off, is I want us to answer a question, and answers make this look better for video. Remember, me and video. So the more participation, the better. What is the most important thing or accomplishment in your life? It could be a friendship, a relationship, anything. I'll take anything this morning. So we'll start this way and move around. I like that frozen look on your face there. What's the most important thing in your life? What's love? What do you place a lot of value in? How about that? You don't know? All right, how about you coming back to you? Sure. Either one or both. All right, 100 on your math test. I'd say that's pretty good. All right. All right, what about you? You don't know? Something. You don't think about them? Well, I'm not saying that's a bad thing that you don't go around just thinking, oh, this is the most important thing in the world. But just like what stands out, what are you proud of? All right, you're about to graduate. How are you about to graduate? I don't mean it like, oh my gosh, you're going to graduate. Like, tell me about how you're going to graduate. Like, I know what you're proud of. You talk about it. Okay, yeah, sure. That's something to be proud of. That's an important thing, right? You keep telling me it is anyway. Yeah, that's good. All right, Addison, how about you? What's important to you? What's that? Okay, absolutely. Nate's our videographer this morning. What's important to you?
I like being a vacation Bible school director. That's pretty important to me.
Sure, absolutely. Our VBS, Nate wears a lot of hats around here. He takes care of our VBS in the summer for our kids. So obviously that is a huge time in our life. I would say for me, one of the most important things in my life is my family. I really take a lot of pride in raising my kids and hopefully being a good husband and a good dad. So it's definitely important. I don't know that that's an accomplishment. It's something that is important in my life. So let me ask you this. In all those things we've talked about, does it give you any kind of status? Like, to me, somebody might say to me, well, you're a good dad, or you're a good husband. I would appreciate it if somebody would say that, obviously. But they might say that because of mine. What about Nate? Does that give you any kind of status because you're the VBS director?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of status might it give you?
Shows I'm important.
Okay, you're important. I would say maybe that you're responsible. But that's a pretty big deal in the life of our church. So that's a lot of responsibility. By the way, I get to be Nate's assistant this year, so I think he's going to probably have a long list of stuff to tell me to do. I'll probably have to wear many hats during that week. So, what about making 100 on the test? Does that give you any kind of status? A good student, all right. What about any privileges? Okay, so maybe it's a matter of something they might not take away. Does it allow you flexibility in how you approach your homework? You don't have all your, you know what I mean, like how do you get your work done? Call it whatever you want to. would say it gives you a status because it makes you feel good. It gives you a compliment. So now let's talk about these things. Do any of the things that we've all said make us happy, our most important accomplishment, do they have any real value? Like a tangible value? Can you put a dollar sign or a tradable value on it? What about you, Nate? No? Nate's giving us the shake. That means no. I like that. It's just some high level camera work we got going here. What about you, Addison? Is there any tangible value on it? Okay, you could get a scholarship. You might get a scholarship if you do consistently well on a math test, right? And Haley, you might get a scholarship. You might get accepted because of that. You never know. I've seen instances where one thing might set two people apart in the application process. So there might be some value on it. I can't sit here and tell you what it is. But it's important to us. I think we've established that maybe the main thing about this is that it's important to us. Would you give it up in exchange for anything? Would you not be an honor graduate if you had to give it up? Like Paul's saying here, all this power that I had, all this status that I had in his day, he's saying, I count it as nothing. I think, what was the quote in the sermon last time? Was that when he said a pile of doo-doo? Yes. Yeah, Cass is still stuck on that. He said doo-doo in the sermon. But it's a pile of rubbish or a pile of dung. Some people's Bible says that. Any accomplishment, any status Paul had, he's saying, that's nothing in exchange for Christ. Would you give it up for that? And don't give me the Sunday school answer. If you wouldn't, it's okay. Would you trade being an honor graduate if it meant Christ? Would you trade being a good student? Would you trade being the VBS director? Would I trade being a good father or a good husband in exchange for Christ? Anybody wants to answer that one? No, I don't blame you. That's hard. I hope we would say yes. I hope we would say sure. We would trade that. We would give it up in exchange for this. That's what Paul's saying. I think some of our things that are important to us almost go hand in hand with Christ. Like he's called us to be the best student we can be. He's called us to be a good dad, to be a good husband. Obviously, being a VBS director can be done outside of Christ. But what's the ultimate purpose of VBS? Nate?
Glorify God.
To glorify God and to preach the message of salvation to children that have never heard it. So a lot of these things I think go hand in hand. But what we're looking at here, Paul says, for his sake I have suffered the loss of all things and count them as rubbish for who or however you want to determine that, in order that I may gain Christ. And what? Look at that. After it says gain Christ, what does it say? And be found in him, not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, or in our case, from anything or any accomplishment that we may have, but what? That which comes through faith in who? In Christ. All of this stuff is worthless compared to Christ. The sacrifice he made on the cross. That's what Paul is telling us here. He's saying, look, all this accomplishment, it's nothing. Paul's a pretty famous guy, right? At least when it comes to the Bible. Do we know how much of the Bible, the New Testament he wrote? I remember that trivia fact. How many books of the 27? I remember.
18.
Not quite that many. 13. Almost half. But so he's pretty famous. I even get him confused with Luke, right? Because we teach Paul so much. I was calling Luke Paul that night until Nate got me corrected. But what he's saying is, any of that I counted as nothing compared to Christ. But with that which comes through faith in Christ, the righteousness from God that depends on what? Faith. What is faith? Okay, believing in something even if you can't see it. What's a word that maybe we might equate with faith? Trust. Absolutely. That's the word that I have right here. Faith equals trust. That kind of say we trust in Jesus, we trust in to Him to cover our sins. What do we trust in? His burial and His what? His resurrection. We trust in the power of the resurrection to do what? Save us from our sins. Right? We had to have that sacrifice, that perfect sacrifice for our sins. If we don't trust in that, then we're going to put no weight in it, right? We're going to go out and do what? Try to save ourselves or try to get to heaven. What are we going to do? Well, either absolutely nothing, because we might not even believe that heaven exists or is real. We might just believe we die and that's it. But if we do believe in heaven, but we don't trust in the resurrection, how would we try to get there? All kinds of works. All those things plus an infinite number of things on top of that, we would try to work our way there, right? We would try to say, well, I'm the good person. Well, I fed the hungry person, or I stopped and I picked up the trash on the way in, or I saw somebody that needed a home and I found them somewhere to live. Whatever. There's an endless number of things that we might put out there to say we should get into heaven. But what we need to see here, what Paul is saying, all of those things are worthless. We need to be trusting in Him. We need to put our ball, whatever, in His court and trusting in Him and His resurrection, the power that comes with His resurrection. Verse 10, that I may know Him and the power of His resurrection. I think a lot of us know that. We've come to that point. Something that maybe we don't necessarily always think about is after the comma there, after resurrection, what does it say? Verse 10. And may share His sufferings, becoming like Him in what? His death. That's where it gets a little heavy, right? Wait a minute, we might have to die for what we believe in. You might think that's real. Did that happen? Absolutely it could. Now, maybe the physical death is not what we have to endure. Fortunately for us, we don't face that a lot in our setting. Very rarely do you hear of a person in America that dies for their faith. It happens, but it's not that prevalent. So what do we have to die to? Who do we have to die to? Our old self. And to our selfish wants and desires. Would it be easier to say, no, I'm going to do what I want to do? Absolutely it would. Why? Because it probably wouldn't hurt. It probably wouldn't cost us anything. Are you generally going to put yourself in a situation where you have to suffer? No. Addison, you like suffering? No, me neither. Nate? No? That cracks me up. Yeah. Would I generally choose this? I mean, this walking boot? Absolutely not. I'd rather be running around and doing the normal dunking than I do right now. Oh yeah, we got some agreement there. No, we're not going to choose pain. We're not going to choose suffering. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. We're not going to choose to do hard things, to put ourselves in awkward situations. But we may have to. We have to die to ourselves. In fact, we do have to die to ourselves and share in His suffering. That by any means possible, verse 11, I may obtain the resurrection from the dead. Is that what we're striving to? Is that eternal life? Do we want to just die and it be over? Anybody signing up for that? I hope not. I don't think that's what we're signing up for. What? Do we want to just die, or do we want to live in heaven with Christ eternally? Everybody agree with that? Cameraman? Little shake there? Yeah. That's what we want. So that's what Paul's saying. All this other stuff is just what he calls a crap. But faith and putting our trust in Him, that is where it's at, so that we can obtain this power. The power that comes from the resurrection. So think about that. Put all that stuff aside. We have to strive to become like Him. We just naturally like Christ. Anybody? I thought somebody, Stephen's not here. He might have said yes. He might have gone there today. We're not naturally like Him. We want to serve ourselves, so we have to strive to be like Him. Put all this other things aside, to just count it as nothing, and try to obtain that resurrection, that promise of eternal life. Make sense? Father, we thank You for today. sharing the suffering that you're calling us to. A lot of times it would be easier just to do what we want to do the things that please us or that keep us being comfortable. God, I just pray that we would see the power that came with the resurrection and see the need to tell other people about it, about you and about your son. Help us to do